Rain hits hard as Amara stands at the mansion gate, shaking. "You lied to me. You're a billionaire? You used me?" Her voice cracks. Marcus, still in his cab jacket, steps forward in panic. "Amara, please. My love was real." She backs away, tears mixing with rain. The screen freezes on her breaking heart as a deep voice says, "Want to know how everything fell apart? Let's rewind to the very beginning. It all began on a night when the whole city seemed tired. Lights were on everywhere, cars moved slowly, and far away, a storm was building. Inside the Wellington mansion, Marcus sat alone in his study. The room was quiet, but not the peaceful kind. It felt empty, like something important had been missing there for a long time. Marcus held a small engagement ring in his hand. The diamond still shined, but the meaning behind it was gone. His ex-fiancée's last words kept hitting him again and again. "You don't love people, Marcus. You only love what your money gives you." He had heard harsh words before, but this one stayed in his chest, like a weight. He turned the ring between his fingers, thinking about how everything in his life looked perfect from the outside. Big house, expensive cars, endless money, but none of it meant anything right now. Not when he felt this empty. He walked to the huge window, staring at the lights far below. People moved like tiny dots. Workers rushing home, students running with umbrellas, couples holding hands in the rain. Everyone down there looked normal. He wondered what it felt like to be normal, to be seen as a human, not a walking bank, to have someone look at him and see a heart, not money. Subscribe now for more deep, emotional stories just like this. His voice came out quiet but firm. "I want someone who loves me. Not this life. Not this name. Me. Maybe it was the pain. Maybe the loneliness. Maybe something inside him. Finally waking up." But that night, Marcus made a decision he'd never imagined in his whole life. He opened a drawer, took out a simple fake ID he had once made as a joke with friends. The name on it said, Mark Wilson. A normal name. No weight. No power. No history. Just a man. He changed clothes, took off the rich fabric, the expensive coat, the polished shoes. He wore simple jeans, a plain shirt, and an old jacket. He looked at himself in the mirror. For the first time, he didn't look like Marcus Wellington, billionaire CEO. He looked like a regular guy. He walked outside and got into an old yellow cab he had bought secretly months ago. No one knew about it. He kept it because it reminded him of simpler times. Tonight, it was going to be his life. When he turned the engine on, the cab made a soft rattling noise. Not smooth like his luxury cars, but something about it felt real, honest. He drove out into the night. Rain started slowly at first, then grew heavier as the clouds opened. The wipers moved across the glass again and again. City lights stretched across the wet roads, making everything look softer, almost like another world. Marcus exhaled deeply. "Let's see what life is like without money," he whispered. He drove through the busy streets, passing stores closing for the night, people running for shelter, buses splashing through puddles. For a moment, he felt invisible, and it felt strangely good. But then he saw her. A young woman standing under a streetlight, soaked completely. She held a small bag close to her chest, like she didn't want to lose it. Her clothes clung to her from the rain, and her hair stuck to her face. She looked exhausted, physically tired, emotionally drained, almost ready to collapse. Yet her eyes still carried a strong, quiet fire. She raised her hand weakly to wave down a cab. Marcus slowed the car and pulled up beside her. She opened the door carefully, as if worried she might break something. When she sat down, her hands were shaking slightly. She let out a small breath, then said, "Sorry, I don't have much cash tonight. I hope small bills are okay." Her voice was soft, a little embarrassed. but honest. Marcus felt something warm hit his chest. "It's okay," he said gently. "Don't worry about it. Looks like you had a long day." She quickly shook her head. "No, I'll pay. I don't take anything for free. I work for what I have." That line hit him hard. It wasn't pride. It was dignity. It was strength. Something he hadn't seen in people around him for years. He only nodded and started driving. For a while, neither of them spoke. The rain tapped on the car roof, steady and calming. She looked outside the window, watching the lights blur through the water. Her breathing slowly relaxed. Maybe this was the first quiet moment she had all day. After a minute, Marcus asked softly, "Long shift?" She gave a tired laugh. 12 hours. 2 jobs. It never ends. But that's life. You keep going. 2 jobs? He asked. "I'm a nurse in the day. And sometimes evenings. Then, I work part-time at a small clinic on weekends. My mom is sick. So, I just do what I have to." Her voice wasn't complaining. It was simple truth. And that truth made Marcus look at her differently. She wasn't just tired, she was strong. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amara," she said. "Amara Johnson." He smiled softly. "Nice name." She looked at him with a small smile of her own. "What about you?" He paused. This was it. This was where the lie officially began. "Mark," he said. "Mark Wilson." The name didn't feel natural yet, but hearing her repeat it made it feel real. "Well, thank you for stopping," she said. "Most drivers didn't want to pick me up in this rain." The cab moved smoothly through the rain-filled streets. Marcus found himself wanting to know more about her. She found herself feeling a bit safer, a bit less tired, sitting in that old cab. But neither of them knew something big was happening already. Quietly, slowly, in that small space between them. At a red light, Marcus glanced at her again. The way she held her bag tightly. "Thanks for watching." And then what he put it to scribe. "We're doing and tell her grow. Like subscribe. Thanks to see. Thanks to see. Thanks for watching. Thanks subscribe into." The way she fought the sleep pulling at her eyes. The way she sat with strength even in weakness. Something inside him shifted. Just slightly, but enough to matter. This was the moment everything began to change. And neither of them knew it. If you're enjoying the story so far, make sure to hit the subscribe button right. When the cab reached her street, Amara counted her coins slowly. Trying not to feel embarrassed, she handed them to him with a small, apologetic smile. "Thank you for the ride. I'm sorry, it's not much." Marcus gently pushed her hand back. "Keep it." "Really?" She frowned. "No, I said I don't take anything for free." Her honesty made him smile again. "Okay. How about this next time? You pay double." She laughed for the first time, a soft laugh that felt warm even in the rain. "Next time? Are you planning to pick me up again?" He shrugged lightly. "Maybe. Who knows?" She stepped out of the cab, but before closing the door, she said, "Drive safe, Mark." Her smile stayed in his mind long after she walked away into the rain. Marcus drove off slowly, his heart strangely light. Something about her stayed inside him. Her dignity, her strength, her honesty. She was nothing like the people in his rich world. She felt real. Subscribe now for more deep, emotional stories just like this. He whispered to himself, "I hope I meet her again." The next morning came slowly for Marcus. Sunlight filled his bedroom, but it didn't feel warm. He had barely slept. His mind kept replaying the same moment again and again, the moment Amara smiled before stepping out of the cab. Something about that smile stayed with him in a way he couldn't explain. He sat at the edge of his bed, elbows on his knees, trying to understand why a simple ride with a tired nurse felt so important. Maybe because for the first time, someone talked to him like he was just a person. Not a name, Not a billionaire, not a boss, just Mark, a normal man. His phone buzzed. It was his personal assistant reminding him about a board meeting in 2 hours. A normal Marcus Wellington morning would start with a fresh suit, a driver waiting, and a long day of business. But today, he didn't want that life. Not yet. He wanted to feel like the man behind the wheel again. He ignored the message, got up, changed into the same simple clothes from last night, and headed straight to the garage. The old yellow cab was still there, cold and quiet. When he opened the door, he felt a tiny spark of excitement. It felt like freedom. He drove out into the fresh morning air, passing the city as it slowly woke up. Vendors opened their stalls, students waited for buses, workers hurried toward offices. This world felt real, unpolished, alive. He kept driving through the streets, hoping he might see Amara again, even though he knew it was unlikely. People like her were always busy, running between jobs, caring for others before caring for themselves. Still, he wished. Hours passed. Noon came. He picked up different passengers, an old man carrying groceries, a young couple arguing, a mother with a baby. He listened to small stories, small lives, small moments, and it all felt better than million-dollar meetings. Around late afternoon, while driving past the hospital area, the rain started again, light at first, then a bit heavier. He slowed down to see clearly, and that's when he saw her. Amara was at the hospital entrance, holding a file close to her chest, her hair tied back neatly, but her face looked tired again. She was talking to a coworker, nodding, then rubbing her forehead like she had a headache. Marcus felt his heart jump. He didn't even think. He pulled the cab to the side and waited. She didn't see him at first. She was too lost in her thoughts. After a moment, she stepped out toward the road, trying to wave for a cab. He tapped the horn once. Softly, Amara turned and smiled in surprise. "Mark? Really? Twice in 2 days?" He smiled back. "I guess I'm lucky." She got in quickly, closing the door against the growing rain. "Well, lucky for me too. I really needed a ride." She leaned back in her seat and let out a long breath. "Today was rough. My patient load doubled. And after this, I still have to check on my mom." Marcus felt the worry in her voice. "How is she?" Amara looked out the window. "She's not doing great. Some days she can't even get up. I'm trying my best, but everything costs so much." Her voice cracked slightly, but she didn't cry. She was too used to holding her emotions together. Marcus wanted to help. He wanted to fix everything, but he couldn't say, "I'm a billionaire. Let me handle it." That would destroy everything. He was Mark Wilson now, a simple man. So he stayed quiet. After a moment, Amara asked him, "So, how's your day? People being nice?" He laughed a little. Some, not so much. But it's okay. Feels good to just drive around." She nodded. "Feels peaceful, right? I always wanted to take one day off and just drive somewhere far. No rules. No pressure." "Why don't you?" he asked. She gave a tired smile. "Because life doesn't wait for people like me. Bills, medicines, rent. There's always something." The cab stopped at a red light, and Marcus looked at her. Really looked. Her strength, her honesty, her quiet hope. She was everything he had never seen in his world. When the light turned green, she asked softly, "Mark, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why does it feel like you're different from other people? Like you actually listen?" He swallowed. "Maybe because I don't have anyone who listens to me either." She looked at him with gentle eyes, and for a moment, something silent passed between them. Two people who felt alone in different ways, suddenly not alone. When he dropped her at her apartment, She paid him again with exact bills. She insisted. "Next time, I'll bring real money," she joked. He smiled. "Just call me when you need a ride." She shook her head. "I don't have your number." He hesitated, then handed her a small piece of paper with a simple number written on it. "Now you do." She held the paper carefully. "Thank you, Mark." When she stepped out, he watched her walk slowly inside the building. It felt wrong to drive away. It felt like he should stay a little longer, just in case she needed anything, but he forced himself to go. That night, he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He didn't know how, but her voice, her smile, her tired eyes, they all stayed in his mind. He tried to push the thoughts away, but they kept returning. Marcus spent less time as the CEO and more time as the cab driver. Meetings were rushed, calls ignored, and at least twice he left the office early just to go drive around the city. His assistant kept asking questions, but Marcus didn't care. He only cared about one thing: seeing her again. And he did. Almost every evening. Somehow. Some way. He crossed paths with her. At the bus stop. Near the clinic. Outside the hospital. Sometimes she called him. Sometimes he happened to be passing by. At first, it was accidental. Then it became routine. And before either of them realized it, it became something deeper. Their talks got longer. Their laughs got warmer. Their comfort grew naturally. Amara would share her small stories, patience, her mom's health, her dream of opening a free clinic someday. A place where poor people could get treatment without worry. "I want to help people who have nothing," she said one night. "People who get ignored because they can't pay. Maybe someday, when things get better." Marcus listened quietly, his heart filled with a strange mix of sadness and hope. She didn't know it, but he could make her dream come true in one single day. But as Mark Wilson, he was powerless. He hated that lie more every day. But he couldn't stop, because he knew the truth would destroy the fragile connection growing between them. One evening, Amara surprised him. She handed him a small box, wrapped in paper. "I brought you dinner," she said shyly. "You were driving around all day, right? So, I made something." He opened it. Warm food. Simple, but full of effort. "No one has ever cooked for me before," he said quietly. Amara laughed. "Seriously? You never had someone to share food with?" "No," he said truthfully. "Not like this." She looked at him for a long moment. There was something soft in her eyes. Something real. She didn't say it out loud, but the feeling hung in the air. She cared. Later, when he dropped her home, she stood outside the cab for a moment, hesitating. Then she said softly, "Mark, you're a good person. Mark, I don't meet many people like you." He felt her words like a warm light inside him. "I'm just trying to be honest." She shook her head gently. "You're more than that." She walked inside, leaving Marcus frozen in the seat, staring at the door long after she disappeared. He whispered to himself, "This is getting real. Too real." And for the first time, he felt fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of hurting her. Fear of the truth. But deep inside, he also felt something else. Something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The next week felt different for both of them. Amara started smiling more at work. Her coworkers noticed it. One nurse joked, "Amara, you finally look alive these days. New perfume or new man?" Amara blushed and quickly walked away. But inside her chest, something warm moved. She didn't want to admit it yet, not even to herself. But Mark was becoming a part of her days. A quiet part. A comfortable part. For Marcus, life became split in two. In the mornings, he wore suits and sat in meetings, pretending to care about numbers and business charts. But his mind kept wandering. Every time his phone buzzed, He hoped, almost prayed, it was a message from her. At lunch breaks, he found himself staring out of windows, wanting the workday to end so he could go back to the cab. His assistant even confronted him one day. "Sir, you left the boardroom twice today." The directors are confused. Marcus had no explanation. How could he say, "I'm changing clothes in the parking lot just to go drive an old cab because there's a girl I want to see"? So he smiled tightly and said, "Just stress. Handle it." But everyone in the office felt something was off with their CEO. That evening, as the sun started going down, Marcus drove the cab near the hospital again. He didn't want to seem desperate, but he couldn't stop himself from hoping she might appear. The sky turned orange and pink, and the city lights switched on one by one. And then she walked out through the hospital doors. Her hair was tied back neatly, and she looked tired. But when she saw the cab, she smiled instantly. A real smile. The kind that reaches the eyes. She opened the door and slid in. "You're here again," she said softly. He shrugged. "Maybe I'm just lucky again." She looked at him for a moment like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. Then she whispered, "I'm glad I saw you." Those words alone made his whole day worth it. They drove through the city slowly. No rush. No noise between them. She told him about her day, about a young patient who gave her a hand-drawn flower, about a coworker who slipped in the hallway, about her mom feeling a bit better in the morning. Marcus listened to everything like each word mattered, and Amara talked to him like she had known him for months, like he was someone she could trust. After a while, she asked, "Mark, do you ever feel like you're living two lives? Like you're one person during the day and another person at night?" His hands stiffened on the steering wheel. For a second, he thought she somehow knew, but she didn't. She was just talking openly. He forced his voice to stay calm. "Maybe. Sometimes." She nodded. "Yeah, I feel that too. Nurse during the day. Tired daughter at night." She sighed. "Sometimes I wonder what life would feel like if things were easier." He didn't know what to say, so he asked, "What do you want the most? If life gave you one chance?" She thought for a long moment. "A free clinic," she said finally. "A place where anyone can walk in and get help. No bills. No fear. No rich or poor. Just care." He already knew her dream, but hearing her say it with so much emotion made something inside him tighten. She deserved it. She deserved so much more, but he couldn't give it. Not as Mark Wilson. She leaned her head against the seat. "Anyway, dreams are free, so why not dream big, right?" Marcus smiled slowly. "Maybe one day." She looked at him again, eyes soft. "I like the way you say that." They reached her apartment, but tonight, she didn't step out immediately. She held onto her bag, thinking. Then she said, "Do you want to get something to eat? You must be hungry." His heart skipped. "Sure." They walked to a small street food stall nearby. The owner, an old man with a loud voice, greeted Amara like family. "Nurse Amara, your mom is doing better, yes? What can I get you?" "Same as always?" She smiled. "Yes, uncle. And this is my friend, Mark." The old man nodded at Marcus. "Good man. I can tell." Marcus felt a strange happiness at those words. He hadn't heard someone call him a good man in years. People usually called him Sir, Boss, Mr. Wellington. Never good. They sat on plastic chairs. The food was simple but warm and full of flavor. Amara laughed at little things. Marcus found himself laughing too real. Natural laughs that shocked even him. At one point, she handed him a piece of bread from her plate. "Try this. It's better from my side." He took it, brushing her fingers lightly. The small touch made both of them stop for a second. Something unspoken passed between them, something gentle but powerful. After dinner, they walked slowly back to her building. The air was cool. the street calm, and the city felt softer than usual. She stood in front of her door and looked at him with a shy smile. "Thank you. I had a good time." "Me too," Marcus said, and he meant it more than she could ever know. She held the door handle but didn't open it yet. She whispered, "Mark, why do I feel safe with you? I don't even know much about you." He froze. Not because he didn't want to answer, but because he knew the truth would destroy everything. He said softly, "Maybe, because some people just fit, too." Her smile grew slowly. "Yeah, maybe." She stepped inside, and the door closed gently. Marcus stood there for a minute, heart racing. He knew he was falling deeply, quickly, dangerously, but he couldn't stop. The next few days pulled them even closer. They shared small jokes, talked about their fears, and opened up in ways neither had expected. Marcus even started learning how to cook small meals so he could bring her something someday. But the lie grew heavier. Every time she said, "You're so real, Mark," he felt guilt crush him. Every time she said, "You understand people," he felt pain. Every time she smiled at him like he was the only person who truly cared, a voice inside him whispered, "She doesn't know who you are." One night, after dropping her home, Marcus sat alone in the cab for a long time. The rain tapped softly on the roof. The city around him felt quiet. He whispered to himself, "I should tell her. I should tell her everything." But then he remembered her face, her trust, her dreams, her heart. And he said instead, "Not yet. Not now." He drove home with a heavy chest. But real life was ready to hit them soon, harder than he imagined. It happened the next evening. Amara entered the cab with tears in her eyes. Her hands were shaking. She couldn't even speak for the first few seconds. Marcus panicked. "Amara? What happened? Are you hurt?" She wiped her face quickly. "My mom," she fainted again. "The doctor says she needs surgery soon. It's expensive. Too expensive." Her voice broke. "I don't know what to do, Mark. I don't have that kind of money." Marcus felt his chest tighten painfully. He wanted to tell her, "I can fix it. I can pay everything." But he stayed silent. One truth would expose the other. The moment he paid, she would know he wasn't Mark Wilson. He whispered helplessly, "I'm so sorry." She leaned forward and cried quietly, "I just want her to live. I can't lose her." Marcus held the steering wheel tightly, feeling helpless in a way he had never felt before, not even as a business owner. Money could solve the problem, but the lie wouldn't let him use it. That night, something broke inside him. Something heavy. He knew the road ahead would be painful. For him, for her, for both of them. Amara cried the whole ride home that night. She tried to wipe her tears again and again, but they kept falling. Marcus kept glancing at her through the mirror, his heart breaking a little more each second. He had seen sad people before, but nothing felt like this. Seeing her break felt like someone was pressing a hand on his chest. When they reached her street, she didn't move. She sat still, staring at her hands. Her voice came out soft and weak. "Mark, can you just stay for a moment? I don't want to go inside yet." He nodded. "Of course." Silence filled the cab. Not the awkward kind, just heavy, painful. Amara whispered, "Everything feels too much. I'm working all the time. But still, I can't save her." Marcus wanted to say 1,000 things, but none of them felt right. So he said the only thing that felt safe. "You're not alone." She shook her head slowly. "I feel alone every day, Mark. Except when I'm talking to you." Those words hit him harder than she knew. He wanted to reach out and hold her hand, but he stopped himself. Instead, he said softly, "I'm here, whenever you need me." She looked at him with tired, wet eyes. "Thank you." After a moment, she finally stepped out of the cab. Before closing the door, she whispered, "Good night, Mark." He watched her walk inside, then leaned back in his seat, closing his eyes. He felt trapped. He had the power to fix everything. But the lie held him down like chains. He whispered into the empty cab, "I can't keep this up." When he reached the mansion, the shift back to reality hit him immediately. Guards greeted him. Lights turned on automatically. His assistant was waiting with a file. "Sir, the board is very unhappy. You missed 2 meetings. They want answers." Marcus barely heard him. He walked straight into his study, ignoring everyone. He sat down, dropped his face into his hands, and took a long breath. He felt more like Mark than Marcus now, and somehow, that scared him. His phone buzzed. A message from Amara. "Thank you for listening today. I needed that." He stared at the message for a long time. His lie wasn't just a lie now. It had become the reason she trusted him. The reason she leaned on him. The reason she felt safe. He typed back, "Always here for you." But when he sent it, his chest tightened. He wasn't always there. Not truly, not honestly. He stayed awake the whole night, walking around the mansion, thinking about her, thinking about the surgery, thinking about what would happen if she ever found out the truth. And then, he made a decision. He picked up his phone, called the Wellington Foundation head, and said, "There's a patient who needs emergency surgery. Anonymously cover the full cost." Tomorrow morning, no one tells her who did it. The next afternoon, Amara received a call from the hospital. She was at her clinic job when her phone rang. She walked outside to answer it. Marcus, in his cab, waited at the corner for her on purpose. "Miss Johnson," the hospital administrator said, "your mother's surgery cost has been fully covered. The payment came through this morning." Amara froze. "What? No, that can't be right. Who paid it?" "The Wellington Foundation," the voice replied. "We received a note to prioritize her case." Amara felt her heart stop. She stood there, gripping the phone, confused and shaking. "Why? Why would they help us? I don't know anyone rich." She ended the call and ran straight toward Marcus's cab. She jumped in, eyes wide. "Mark! Someone paid for the surgery. All of it!" Marcus forced himself to look surprised. "That's amazing. Really amazing." But she narrowed her eyes slightly. "It's strange, though. Why would some big foundation help someone like me?" Marcus swallowed. "Maybe someone wanted to do a good thing." She stared at him closely. Too closely. Then she asked, "Did you do something?" His chest tightened instantly. "Me? Amara, I can barely pay my rent. Remember?" She nodded slowly. "Yeah, you're right. Sorry. It's too perfect. Too sudden." He smiled weakly. "Sometimes life surprises us." She looked down at her hands. "I should be happy, but something feels strange." He forced the lie one more step. "Maybe you don't have to understand everything right now. Just be grateful your mom will be okay." That seemed to calm her. Her eyes softened, and she smiled again. "Yeah, you're right." But deep inside her, a tiny seed of suspicion started growing. After dropping her at the hospital, Marcus parked the cab in a quiet alley and leaned back, breathing hard. Every time he lied now, he felt it physically, like his chest was closing. He whispered, "This is getting out of control." The next few days were a blur. Her mother was taken into surgery. It was successful. Amara cried and hugged every nurse in the room. Marcus waited outside in his cab, watching from a distance. He didn't want to confuse her. He didn't want her to know how close he really was. That evening, Amara asked him to take her home again. She looked relieved but still confused. "Mark, it's strange. The hospital said the foundation usually helps with big charity cases. Why choose my mom?" He tried to stay calm. Maybe they saw your situation. She shook her head. No one even knows about my situation. I didn't tell anyone. He went quiet. Too quiet. She noticed. She looked at him slowly. Mark, you're hiding something. His eyes snapped up. What? No. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I can feel it. You always look like you're carrying a weight. Like you're trying to say something. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. You're imagining things. But she wasn't. She leaned closer. Mark, if something is going on, you can tell me. He felt panic rising. Panic he couldn't show. I'm fine, he said quickly. Really? Amara didn't push further, but her eyes stayed on him even after she stepped out of the cab. She watched him for a long moment before going inside. And Marcus knew it. The lie had cracked. A small crack, but a dangerous one. The next morning, things finally shifted. Amara received a call from the hospital again. While talking, the administrator accidentally mentioned, Yes, our foundation head said Mr. Wellington approved the payment personally. Amara froze. The phone almost slipped from her hand. She whispered, Wellington. Who is that? The administrator hurried. Oh, our CEO. Marcus Wellington. Very generous man. She slowly pulled her phone away from her ear. The name echoed in her mind. She had heard it before. On news. On billboards. On medical brochures. She opened her browser with shaking hands and typed, Marcus. Wellington. Wellington Foundation. The first image that appeared was Marcus, standing in a suit, smiling. A billionaire. Her eyes widened. Her heart dropped. She whispered, No. No. This can't be. She scrolled down. Photo after photo. Article after article. His face everywhere. Her breath turned uneven. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, Mark? No. Marcus. Everything started connecting. Every lie. Every strange thing. Every quiet moment. He avoided certain questions. Her world spun. She grabbed her bag and ran out of the building. She had only one place to go. The Wellington mansion. Amara did not remember the whole ride to the rich part of the city. She only remembered her legs shaking as she ran to the bus stop, her breaths coming fast, her mind filled with one single name. Marcus. Not Mark. Not a simple cab driver. Marcus Wellington. The billionaire. The man whose face she had seen everywhere online. The man whose foundation had paid for her mother's surgery. The man who had been sitting right beside her every night, wearing cheap clothes and driving an old cab like he was one of them. Like he understood her life. Like he understood struggle. It felt like the whole city was tilting around her. Like the air was too heavy to breathe. Cars moved past her. People walked by. But she heard nothing. She felt nothing except the pounding of her heartbeat against her chest. By the time she reached the Wellington mansion gate, her hands were shaking so hard she had to hold the metal bars just to stay upright. The mansion looked huge, shining under the afternoon sun. The driveway was full of expensive cars. Guards stood near the gate, staring at her like she didn't belong there. One guard stepped forward. Ma'am, this is private property. You cannot enter. Amara didn't back down. Her voice came out sharper than she expected. I'm here to see Marcus. Tell him Amara Johnson is here. The guard frowned. He looked confused. Ma'am, Mr. Wellington doesn't meet visitors without... Tell him, she repeated. Her eyes filled with heat. Or I swear I will start yelling his real name out loud until he comes. The guard hesitated, then spoke into his walkie-talkie. Seconds later, another guard checked something, then nodded. Mr. Wellington said, Let her in. Amara walked through the gates with her heart pounding. Every step closer to the mansion felt like walking into a fire. She didn't know what she was going to say. She didn't know whether she wanted to scream, cry, or collapse. She only knew one thing: she needed answers. The main door opened. and Marcus stepped out. He was still wearing the simple cab driver jacket, the worn-out one, the one he always wore around her. He wasn't dressed like a billionaire today. It was almost like he wanted to show her the man she knew, but it didn't matter anymore. The lie was too big to hide. He froze when he saw her. His face went pale. Amara. She stared at him like she was seeing a stranger. Her voice came out shaking. Who are you? Tell me your real name. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Her voice cracked. Say it, please. He swallowed hard. My name is Marcus Wellington. Her legs felt weak. Tears blurred her vision. She whispered, You lied to me. Every day. Every single day. He stepped closer. Amara, please, don't, she said, stepping back. Don't come near me. He stopped instantly. The wind blew between them. The whole world went quiet for a moment. Amara's hands trembled as she pointed at him. You pretended to be poor. You pretended to live like us. You pretended to understand me. I wasn't pretending about that, he said softly. I swear. The feelings were real. Everything I felt with you was real. Her voice rose. But the person I felt it with didn't exist. You weren't Mark Wilson. You weren't a cab driver. You weren't anything you said. Marcus stepped forward again, but slower this time. I know I hurt you. I know I ruined everything, but I never meant to. I just wanted someone to see me as a person, not a billionaire. And you decided I couldn't handle the truth? She shot back. You decided for me? You chose what life I saw? What version of you I met? I was scared, he whispered. I didn't want you to treat me differently. I didn't want to lose you before I even had a chance. Amara felt her chest breaking. You already lost me. The pain in his eyes deepened. Reluctantly, we'll get a final day. 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 Please, let me explain. She wiped her tears angrily. Explain? How? Should I sit down like it's a joke? Should I laugh about the days I shared my food with you while you had a mansion? Should I laugh about the times I told you my struggles while you hid the fact that you had enough money to change my whole life? He felt that like a punch. I didn't want money to come between us. It already did, she said, voice cracking. Because you lied. He took a slow breath. You're right. I did lie. And I hate myself for it. But everything I did, every moment with you, every smile, every talk, all of it was real. I fell for you. Not as Marcus, not as a billionaire, but as a man who finally felt alive. Amara shook her head. You don't get to choose who you are and who you hide. Not with me. Not with anyone. Her eyes filled with tears again. Do you know what hurts the most? I trusted you. I trusted you more than anyone in years. And you used that trust to hide the truth. Marcus's voice cracked now. Amara, I didn't use anything. I loved you. I love you. That's the truth. She let out a broken laugh. Love. Love built on lies? That's not love, Marcus. That's control. He felt his breath catch painfully. I didn't control anything. I just wanted to be normal, even for a little while. But you weren't normal, she whispered. You never were. And you knew that. And you still let me fall for someone who didn't exist. He felt tears burning behind his eyes. He tried to blink them away. He failed. He took one more step. Amara, please, don't leave like this. She stepped back again. I already left. The moment you told that first lie. She turned to walk away. But Marcus couldn't stop himself. Wait. Please, he said, voice breaking. If you walk away now, I'll never forgive myself. She stopped. Rain began to fall slowly, the same way it had begun the night they first met. She didn't turn around. Marcus whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For everything. I never wanted to hurt you." She didn't move. He walked closer. The rain grew heavier. "I would give up everything, everything I have, if I could have met you honestly the first time." She turned around slowly, tears mixing with the rain. Her voice came out raw. "You don't understand. It's not about money. It's about choice. You took away my choice. You made me fall for someone who wasn't real. And when you do that, nothing stays real." And then her voice cracked completely. "You broke my heart." Marcus felt his knees weaken. His face dropped toward the ground. "Please, don't say that." But she did. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the small silver bracelet he had once gifted her cheap on purpose, so it wouldn't look out of place. She threw it onto the wet ground at his feet. "I don't want anything from you," she said. "Not your things. Not your lies. Not your love." Marcus's eyes filled with tears as he dropped to his knees, his hands resting on the wet driveway. "Amara, please, I can't lose you like this." She stepped back. "You already lost me." Her voice was final, cold, damaged. She turned around and walked away, her figure slowly disappearing behind the heavy rain. Marcus stayed on his knees long after she left. The rain fell harder and harder until he could no longer tell the difference between water and tears on his face. He didn't move. He didn't breathe normally. He didn't feel the mansion behind him or the world around him. All he felt was the silence she left behind. Hours passed. He didn't know how many. Eventually, a guard walked over and gently asked, "Sir, do you want to go inside?" Marcus didn't answer. His voice was gone. His strength was gone. He finally stood up slowly, feeling like his body was heavier than ever. He walked inside the mansion like a man walking through a tunnel, unable to see anything clearly. The next 3 months became a slow, painful blur. He stopped driving the cab. He stopped laughing. He stopped talking to people unless it was business. Even then, his answers were short. His assistant tried to ask what was wrong, but Marcus didn't explain. He couldn't. How do you explain losing the only person who ever saw you as human? Every night he scrolled through Amara's social media. She posted small updates about her mother's recovery, about the clinic where she worked, about life. But something was missing from her photos. Her smile. The real one. The one he loved. He knew he caused that. And every night, guilt ate him from the inside. One day, he saw something that felt like a punch. She posted that her dream of opening a small free clinic was dying. Funding had slowed. Support had dropped. Her hope looked dimmer in every update. Marcus stared at the screen with a broken heart. He whispered, "I caused enough pain. I can't let her life fall apart." The next morning, he made a decision that would change everything again. He called the press. He called his board. He called every investor. He called the Wellington Foundation director. And he said only one thing. "Prepare a full announcement. We're opening a free clinic. A big one. In her mother's name." Marcus stood in front of the mirror that morning, wearing a simple shirt. No suit. No tie. No billionaire look. Just a man who had broken something he wished he could fix. He felt the same fear he felt the first night he became Mark Wilson. But today the fear was different. Today, it was not about hiding. Today, it was about telling the world the truth, his truth, and letting Amara decide what she wanted. He drove himself to the Wellington Foundation building. Cameras were already waiting. Reporters stood with microphones, talking loudly about the big announcement they expected. No one knew what he was about to say. His assistant walked beside him nervously. "Sir, people are confused. They don't understand why you called such a sudden press conference." Marcus didn't answer. He stepped up to the podium, took a long breath, and looked at the cameras. The lights were bright, but all he saw in his mind was Amara standing in the rain, the pain in her voice, The way she said he had taken away her choice. He didn't want to take anything from her ever again. He adjusted the microphone. "Thank you for being here." The room went quiet. "I want to talk about something personal today," he continued. "Something that matters more than business, more than money, more than success." People exchanged confused looks. This wasn't the kind of speech CEOs normally gave. Marcus continued. "For years, I lived in a world full of power, full of money, full of noise. But inside, I felt empty. I didn't know how to connect with anyone. I didn't know how to love anyone. And I didn't know how to be honest with myself." His voice softened. "But someone changed that." Reporters leaned forward. She taught me that real life is not about what you own," he said. "It's about who you care for, who you stand with, who you show up for." He swallowed, holding back emotion. "She also showed me how hard life can be when you don't have money. She showed me how strong people are, even when the world gives them nothing. She showed me the meaning of kindness and dignity." He paused, then took a breath. "I hurt her. I hurt the person who taught me the most important lessons of my life. I can't undo that, but I can honor her." He lifted a folder from the table. "Today, I am donating a full building and $2 million to create a free clinic. A clinic for people who cannot afford medical help. A clinic that will save lives every day. It will be named after her mother, a woman who fought hard and never gave up." Reporters gasped. Cameras flashed. Everyone started whispering. Marcus wasn't done. "I don't ask for forgiveness," he said. "I don't expect it. I don't even deserve it. I only want her to have the life she dreamed of, with or without me." He closed the folder gently and stepped away from the podium. The room exploded with questions. Who is she? What happened? Are you in love? Why the sudden change? Marcus didn't answer a single one. He walked out calmly, ignoring the noise behind him, and went straight to the old yellow cab he had kept hidden in the garage. He opened the door slowly, touched the steering wheel, and sat down. He whispered to himself, "This is where I found myself. This is where I found her." He drove out of the city and into the smaller roads he and Amara used to talk along. He didn't know where exactly he was going. He just drove. He didn't expect anything to happen. But life had its own plans. Across town, Amara was in the middle of her shift when a coworker rushed into the break room, holding her phone. "Amara, you need to see this." Amara looked up, confused. "What's wrong?" "Just watch," the coworker said, turning the phone toward her. It was a live news clip. Marcus stood at the podium, talking, opening his heart in front of the whole world, saying things no billionaire ever said, saying things only a man in pain would say, a man in love. Amara's eyes widened, her throat tightened. Her chest felt like someone had squeezed it hard. She kept watching. She watched him admit he hurt someone. She watched him say he didn't deserve forgiveness. She watched him give away millions without blinking. She watched him create a clinic her dream without asking for anything in return. Her coworker touched her shoulder. "He did this for you, didn't he?" Amara didn't answer. She couldn't. Her heart felt too heavy and too light at the same time. Her breath shook. Her eyes burned. Tears formed without permission. She whispered, "Why would he do this?" Her coworker smiled gently. "Because he loves you. Even I can see that." Amara covered her mouth with shaking hands as tears finally fell down her cheeks. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know whether to run to him or run away from him. She wasn't ready. She wasn't healed. She wasn't sure if she could trust him again. But she also knew something deep inside her. No one does something like that without meaning it. No one gives away millions for someone they used. No one creates a clinic just for guilt. This was love. Complicated. Broken. Painful. But real. She took a long breath and whispered, "Where is he?" Her coworker pointed at the screen. "They said he left in a cab. His old one. Amara nodded slowly. I think I know where he might go. She quickly wiped her face, grabbed her bag, and left the clinic. Her heart raced as she stepped outside. She remembered all the places they had been together. The street food shop. The river walkway. The park bench. The roads, where they talked about dreams. There was only one place she could imagine him going, somewhere quiet. Somewhere honest. Somewhere he could think. She hurried toward the bus stop. It took her almost an hour. The whole way, her mind replayed moments with him. The times he made her laugh. The times he listened. The times he looked at her like she mattered more than anything. And yes, the lies. The pain. The hurt. Everything mixed together. When she reached the Riverside Road, she saw it. The yellow cab. Parked under a tree. Her heart stopped. She walked slowly toward it, her steps soft and unsure. She saw him sitting inside, hands resting on the wheel, staring out at the water. His face looked tired. Not the tiredness of a long day. The tiredness of a long heartbreak. She stood outside the cab for a moment, watching him. He didn't notice her. Then she knocked gently on the window. Marcus turned. His eyes widened. He opened the door slowly, like he was afraid she might disappear if he moved too fast. Amara? She looked at him with a soft but pained expression. Why are you still driving this cab? He swallowed. Because this cab is where I met you. This is where I felt like a real person. This is where I learned what matters. She took a small step closer. You didn't have to give away all that money. He nodded. I know. You didn't have to build that clinic. I know. You didn't have to tell the whole world your secrets. I know. She looked into his eyes. Then why did you? Marcus took a slow breath. Because you deserved something good. Even if it wasn't me. Amara felt a tear escape. She wiped it quickly. You broke me, Marcus. You really did. I know, he whispered. And I'm sorry for every second of it. She took another step closer. But you also made parts of my life better. You were there when no one else was. He blinked, confused. Amara, what are you saying? She exhaled shakily. I don't know if I'm ready to forget everything you did. I don't know if I can trust you yet. But I know one thing. His heart stopped. What? I don't want to lose what we had. Not forever. Not like that. Marcus felt the world stop moving. Amara touched the cab door gently. I want to try. Not as a lie. Not as a game. I want to try. Honestly, this time. Marcus stepped out of the cab slowly, like he was afraid to break the moment. Rain clouds were forming again. But neither of them moved. He stood in front of her. Then, I should introduce myself again. She smiled softly through her tears. He held out his hand. Hi, I'm Marcus Wellington. I'm a billionaire who drives a cab because a beautiful nurse once taught him what real life feels like. She laughed quietly. A small, real laugh. The kind he missed. The kind he loved. She took his hand. Hi, Marcus. I'm Amara, a nurse who believes in second chances. They stood there, fingers touching lightly, hearts beating fast. And for the first time since everything broke, something finally healed. 6 months later, the free clinic opened. People lined up outside, smiling, clapping, celebrating. The sign above the door read, The Margaret Johnson Free Care Center Amara. Cut the ribbon with tears in her eyes. Marcus stood beside her, proud but calm. He didn't try to stand in the spotlight. He let her shine. She deserved it. Inside the clinic, children laughed. Doctors worked. Families smiled. Amara walked through the halls, touching the walls gently like she still couldn't believe it was real. Marcus watched her from a distance, his heart full. She walked back to him and whispered, Thank you for giving the world a place like this. He shook his head. Wergenfeiner 70A. He shook his head. Wergenfeiner 70A. You gave the idea. I just followed your dream. She smiled, and leaned her head gently on his shoulder. I'm glad I found you. He put a hand on her back softly. I'm glad you didn't give up on me. He smiled. And yes, I still drive the cab on weekends. She laughed softly. Of course you do. They stood there in the middle of the clinic, surrounded by people, but in their own small world, one they rebuilt slowly, honestly, and with real love. Because love isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing each other even after everything breaks. And they chose each other. And they chose each other. And the mentor. And they chose each other. If you enjoyed this full story, make sure to subscribe for more long, emotional stories like this. Your support helps us create more amazing content for you.